Good morning, guys. My family was actually having a little conversation about a SmartHER news story that I'll tell you about in just a second. But before we get to that, just a couple things I think you need to know today. Number one, I think you need to know the name Riley Howell. Oftentimes we know all the names of all the shooters that have ever committed heinous crimes here in America, but you should know the name Riley Howell because he is the student at the University of North Carolina, Charlotte, that charged a shooter that came into his classroom, and he lost his life in the process. And the police chief said if he did not do that, there's no telling what would happen next. So a name I think you should know, and if it's your thing, I think prayers to his family, because what a horrible, there's no words to describe what that family is going through right now. But students, his friends, want him to be remembered for his act of bravery, and I think we could participate in that. So I think that's a name that you should know today. Second thing you should know, and you probably saw yesterday on your phone, if you were, looking at different news alerts that were coming up, or at the end of the day catching some of the news, there was so much news yesterday about the testimony of the Attorney General Barr. And let me just set the stage about why that even happened. Basically, yes? Uh-oh. He's going to get dressed.
Oh, you are?
3 going on 13. Just wait. What are my coffee talks going to look like then? So here's what's really going on. Attorney General Barr was called to testify in front of the Senate and the House today. We testified in front of the Senate yesterday. He was supposed to testify in front of the House today. He canceled that. So partly because of probably what happened yesterday. So what happened yesterday is, Democrats are not happy with the way that Attorney General Barr has characterized the special counsel investigation, and quite frankly, the conclusion that he reached from it. And what kind of set the stage for all of this is that a letter from Bob Mueller, who headed the special counsel investigation, was made public this week, that was written to the Attorney General after the Attorney General summarized the special counsel report. Remember, the Attorney General, a couple days after the report was submitted to the Justice Department, gave like a 4-page summary to Congress and hence the public, saying there's no collusion and that the special counsel didn't make a final decision about obstruction of justice, but it's our decision, the Department of Justice, that we're not going to pursue any charges against the president for obstruction of justice. So apparently Mueller didn't like that characterization, but Barr later released as much of the report as he possibly could. And so eventually the public got to see more or less what the Attorney General saw. So, the question that I have always asked for SmartHER News is, why does this matter? Like, it matters that there's questions about the president and his ethics and his morals and whether or not he broke the law. All this stuff about the special report matters, but what we're watching here is, in general, Democrats really not liking what the Attorney General did. Republicans sticking to the fact that there was no collusion, according to the special counsel investigation, and the real life effect of this debate, I'm not sure of. So I don't think this necessarily threatens the Attorney General's job. And the Democrats have more or less said that they're not really going to, pursue impeachment against the president. So where does this leave us? A big political argument. So I don't know what's really coming next, but that's more or less what's happening right now. And I think, this is just speculation. I think the Attorney General just decided after yesterday's hearing just that it wasn't worth him going in front of Congress. Now the question is whether or not Bob Mueller will testify publicly. And that's something that we really, really should watch for. So, did the world change between yesterday and today? I'm not sure. And so, clearly it did. We all woke up on a new morning, but I just don't know exactly kind of what the end game or the real life effect of all of this is. But I think you should know that it's happening. Let me know if you have any questions on that, and we'll dig deeper if you'd like. It just, politics for the sake of politics, and watching the back and forth on that, there's a lot of places you can do that. So I just want to give you the bottom line. Okay, here's just one fun story that I think you should know. And that is the story that my husband and I were talking about this morning, which is there is a debate about whether or not giraffes should be added to the endangered species list here in America. And I know what you're saying. There's no giraffes here that live in the wild. But part of the reason that they would be added, the argument would be to stop imports of giraffe products like bone product byproducts, or for those that want to actually go out and hunt giraffes in Africa. Now, the argument from conservation groups is that there are fewer giraffes left in Africa than elephants, but giraffes are lower profile. We don't often glamorize them. And that the giraffe population has shrunk by 40% over the last 30 years. And their argument is like, listen, we have to cut down the market for these products. Otherwise, we're part of the problem. You have wildlife conservation / hunting advocacy groups, that's how they've been described, the Safari Club International, saying that's a terrible idea. First of all, this is an international market, so America is a small percentage of it. And in the areas where hunting is legally allowed for giraffes, the giraffes are actually better protected. Their habitats are better protected. The economies are better. And so overall, that's better for the giraffes. You can see both of the arguments on our website today. I had no idea there was a debate about giraffes, and I have to say I did see giraffes in the wild in South Africa, which out of all the animals that I was able to see was real. I just fell in love with the giraffes. So part of the reason this caught my attention was to see a giraffe moving across the open landscape is just like nothing I've ever seen before. But my husband loves to hunt, so I was asking him whether or not he would hunt a giraffe, which he said he wouldn't, but he saw the argument for how the legal hunting supports the local conservation efforts, and how legal hunting here in America does the same for some of our protected areas. Well, yeah, would you like to show him this? Yeah. We're big on animals in our house.
I want to show him what the Komodo dragon is.
Great, look it up, and then we'll end on that. So I just didn't know this debate was even happening. Conservation groups are upset because it took about 2 years for the wildlife services to take up, kind of really focus on their petition. So they're a little bit upset that it's been so delayed. But I think there's an interesting debate on both sides. So Trace would like to show us some of his animals before we leave. But I thought that was an interesting thing to mention. What do we have here? Let me just show you what we have in our house. Yes, nature's deadliest creatures. Wow, Trace, this is really
look
good.
At that. That's my favorite.
That's one of your favorite? Leif, I was just talking about your opinion on hunting.
This
is the Komodo dragon. This is Trace's favorite. Why is this your favorite, Trace?
Because they're big lizards.
Because they're big lizards. That looks like a friendly guy that we should keep as a pet. What do you think, Trace? No. Okay, good call.
That's gooey.
He is gooey. All right. Here's the
Good morning.
The hunting husband that has used my nature pill post as justification to go hunting.
Now we have the hard evidence to prove it's true.
Whenever he wants to go. And he's always like, you would really love to go sit on the deer stand. And I'm like, no, no.
Be out in the woods.
I have a responsibility.
Watching, it's an amazing thing.
I have a responsibility to
unplugging from the internet.
No, but I'm running a digital news platform. It's hard for me to unplug. Okay, so just briefly, what you were saying, I just characterized.
I found a whale.
Okay, cool. Look, just 1 second. Whales, awesome. Giraffes, hunting, deer. We were talking about whether or not you'd ever hunt a giraffe, which you're not really into big game hunting, which is something you could do if you paid.
Look, we've been to Africa. We've seen giraffes. They're amazing animals. They're incredible. In fact, that was your favorite animal.
It was my favorite animal. It's amazing. Definitely. It's so beautiful.
And
I love them.
They're incredible animals. I don't have a desire to hunt giraffes, but I support people's right to do so. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is these amazing animals, that whole hunting industry actually provides a lot to the African economy and incentivizes landowners to keep those animals around. A lot of the animals in Africa that people hunt are large, dangerous animals that are expensive or cause a lot of damage to crops and or predators, attacking cattle herds and things like that. So I think you want to to make it economically viable for the locals, and I think that's something that brings a lot to the economy. I think a lot of Americans maybe don't fully understand or realize that. And we talked to some friends while we were there in Africa that really fully supported that. So, well, I don't have a deep desire to do that. I definitely support people's right to do that, and I think it's important to actually manage, the wildlife first. And obviously, you can protect animals and that need protecting if numbers start dwindling. But
yeah, well, that's their argument, and I didn't share that fact with you, which is the argument is that the giraffe population has nearly been cut in half in the last 30 years, and so they think that that's a very urgent issue. Also, giraffes eat 75 pounds of food every day, which is, I thought was, we say, oh, you're eating like a lion. Well, a lion only eats less than 20 pounds. So giraffes actually eat more than lions. Things that I learned.
They're massive animals.
They need a habitation is what I'm saying. And that's one of the concerns is that they're losing habitat. And so that's part of the reason why they're endangered.
I think that's that cuts the heart of it, right? So if it's a habitat loss issue, that's
part of it.
That's really contributing to giraffe population decline, then hunting, developing an industry around hunting, actually it preserves habitat. And it's something that if you read about white-tailed deer populations in the United States 100 years ago, that they're significantly less than they were now, because even though there's more habitat, there's more people hunting them, and we've eliminated some predators. There's a lot of things that go into that issue, but my whole point is, like, particularly white-tailed deer population, even with less habitat, if they're managed well, and you've got an industry around that pays the salaries for wildlife employees and game management and people to study these issues, that can actually preserve and help that population.
Well, you're saying,
I hope that's what they can do.
You're saying that people are incentivized to keep open land instead of building a golf course.
Exactly,
yes,
or building a cornfield, or whatever it may be. So you're preserving habitat if that brings significant money into the economy, and you're incentivizing people to provide habitat and to keep those animals around and to manage them and make sure that they're not being poached and all those things. So I think that's something that I think a lot of folks that are on the anti-hunting side maybe might want to consider about the long-term good of the animals. Yeah.
That's thank you for your expertise.
Daddy,
Now, honestly, before I met Leif, growing up in San Francisco, I didn't know any of that perspective because I didn't hunt, neither did any of my friends. And so I think it's an important perspective to have that often you don't hear necessarily represented because there's so much backlash about hunting, especially in areas where there's not a lot of hunters, which includes a lot of the areas that are major media centers. So I hope that was helpful. But again, the conservation groups are very, very passionate about this, saying that if the United States doesn't lead on this issue, that they're worried about what happens to giraffes in the next 30 years. And could giraffes actually be one of those species that no one really talks about enough, and because they don't have the huge fundraisers for them, that they sort of just slowly disappear because there's just not enough attention, which I think that's a really interesting argument and a fair one too. So, all right, guys, a little family time, a little longer coffee talk. Why not on a Thursday? And let us know if you have any questions. And maybe I'm trying to get Leif. Leif should kind of be like a regular thing. He's expensive though, so it's hard to catch him. All right, guys, have a great day. I hope that was helpful. Again, check out our 2 points on Attorney General Barr's testimony. That they're in the quick quote section, and let us know if you'd like any more kind of daylight shown on this. But we're watching it. Just know we're watching it, and we're just want to make sure that we bottom line and highlight exactly what you need to know on it. All right, have a great day, guys. I'll talk to you later.